My name is Florence. Thank you for your inquiry. Please wait while I consult my gauges. The temperature is 67 Fahrenheit. The time is now 16 minutes to 12 anti-meridian. Eyes down for a full house. Legs 11. The barometric pressure is currently 1,015 hectopascals. This suggests the weather will become fair. The relative humidity is 62%. My conclusion is that this is the correct juncture for you to partake in a cup of tea. I sincerely hope you gain immense pleasure from your brew. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
I thank you.
I thought it would be interesting to show you how Florence's voice is actually created from scratch. So these are all the numbers that I've done so far. Let's just play one of them, that one for example.
Minute.
So as you can hear, that said minutes. So each of these are a single phrase. I've got the script here so you can see, here we are, clock speech. And this is what I've mentioned in a previous video. The files on the particular soundboard that I'm using with Florence, the machine, only plays OGG files. It won't play, or WAV files. It won't play MP3 files. I subsequently discovered that you can get very cheap MP3 player that will take an SD card, so you can have really unlimited number of files. But I hadn't discovered that, and that also will work with the Arduino. But as I'd already bought one of these, I thought I'd stick with it. So as you can see, I figured out that you could get it to say all the different numbers right up to infinity almost, well, thousands, tens of thousands, by recording up to 19, 20, and then going up to 30, 40, because from 10 to 20 is different. You've got the teens, and then typically they're difficult. Then you've got 30, 40, 50, 60, and you just add the whatever other number of units after that. Minute, minutes past, to, o'clock, quarter, thousand, hundred, etc., etc. So that's nice, and a couple of other longer phrases. So there's the script. I've just got my wife to kindly record these last ones which I'd forgotten to add. So the time is now, the temperature is, the barometric pressure is currently. I thought as Florence could read barometric pressure, we might as well make something more of it, right down to allowing her to come up with a weather forecast. Just as with my other machines, once you've got barometric pressure readings, it's possible to extrapolate them to come up with a forecast, and then she can also say whether it's changeable, whether it's rising, falling, unchanging, whether it's going to be rainy, stormy, changeable, fair, or very dry. How exciting. So, first thing is, I've got a lovely little eddy roll thing, which I will try and drop on a picture of. I will start that up, a little sound recorder. In the past I've used the camera to do the sound recording, but there really isn't any point because you end up with a load of video as well. We need to trim it, and we need to speed it up, and we need to do some other bits and pieces. What I was using originally was my video editing software, but it's just not designed for this, and I was horrified to find after I'd waded through quite several long audio clips that it wouldn't actually render any audio clip shorter than a second. So I ended up using Audacity. It is brilliant. It's free to use, free to download and things, and it's really powerful. It takes a little bit of a while to get used to, but let's load the files. Here we are. Open that. Now, if we can play near the clicks.
The time is now.
And that's fantastic. You can see how easy it is to see what's actually going on. So I can just drag out and select this bit. Tools. Oh, apply macro. Florence one. There we are. Right, exported to that. Exported to that. Now macro is really useful. I'll just show you quickly with the Audacity. So Florence 1, this is the macro for Florence 1. A macro is just a series of instructions to save you pressing the same buttons over and over again indefinitely. You can list the different buttons. It takes some time to set up because you've got to work out what it calls in its macro commands the different buttons. But basically, this is the macro, and I found you can even get from isotope vinyl the scratch filter that gives a sort of old-fashioned vinyl sound, so you can include that in your macro. Let's find out. Here we are, look, changed. So let's play this.
The time is now.
Right, so that's trimmed and it's sped up. I needed it to be sped up, a version sped up without the crackling, because when you're detecting syllables, the crackling effect would just make it impossible to work properly, but obviously it does need to be sped up, and it's one of those mistakes that you live and learn by. Now the completed, there should be an OGG file. Here we are.
The time is now.
Brilliant. You can hear the crackle and everything else.
The time is now.
Brilliant. Now what we're going to do, this is the fascinating bit. I tried several ways of analysing syllabuses. I must stop saying syllabuses. Of getting Florence to open her mouth in time to the audio. Initially I used a switch, clicking it on and off, not very good. I didn't know really what I was doing. Then, as you've seen in the previous video, I came up with some really complicated circuit that I thought would be a bit like a sound to light. So every time the audio got loud, her mouth would open, every time it got soft, her mouth would close. That didn't work either. It's a great shame because I thought that would be great, and that would mean I wouldn't have to do any of this pre-processing. Could just put an audio file into the machine and she would speak with it, but it just didn't work. It just wasn't right.
At last, I have a voice. I am Florence. Finally, I am able to communicate to you all. I have been moulded, turned, riveted and coiffured.
So this was the first experiment I tried to try and work out when her mouth should open. I've put the audio track here when she speaks, and I've put a load of titles which are basically open circles to represent an open mouth here. You can see if I click on one, there it's open, and they overwrite, if you like, this bottom track which is a closed mouth. So if we look at the beginning.
At last, I have a voice. I am Florence. Finally, I am able to communicate to you all. I have been moulded, turned, riveted.
So that worked really well. You can see the opening and closing mouth do line up with the text, the audio, but it took an inordinate amount of time going through and creating each of these, dragging them along, copying, and then once I'd got this done, I had to go back, and for each of these titles I had to, I think it was this, you had to basically find out the start frame and the stop frame, and it took ages, so I scrapped that idea. Amazing piece of software called Rhubarb, and you can download it and put it onto your computer. It doesn't have a nice user interface. You have to run it via the command line. You have to tell it where the software is, where the executable is. You have to tell it excuse me, where you want the output to go, and you tell it where the audio file is, and you send that through. So if we copy this and put this into the command line, so to speak, and press return, what it does, incredibly clever, it does take a bit of a while, but it's got to do an awful lot of stuff. It reads the audio file that's in the folder, so it's here, speech 2 I called it, but could be anything. it reads that, and that's quite a big one, 6 megabytes, 6.5 megabytes, reads that and analyzes it and turns it into a list of mouth shapes for speech that animators use, and I will find some pictures and put them over the top.
P, B, M, E, men, bat, a, bird, you, show, very, l.
So it's created this output. When you open that, and this is absolutely brilliant, it's exactly what I thought I needed. Here's the times down the side in seconds and tenths of seconds, and all these letters X, A, B, C, D, blah 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 blah, refer to the different mouth shapes. Because obviously Florence's mouth has got 2 positions, hasn't got 6 or 9 or whatever modern robot designers use with really complicated articulated mouths. Her mouth is either open or closed, so I spent ages trying to work out how to combine these. So if it's A, B, C, D, then leave it open. If it's D, E, F, G, X, whatever, close it. And after many experiments, I just thought this does not work. It's just not right. But if any of you are thinking of animating something where you want to have these different mouth shapes, this is perfect. Like I say, an output file with all the times down the side throughout the whole thing and all the different mouth shapes. And X, I seem to remember, refers to just having a mouth completely closed. It's amazing, very, very clever. So that's Rhubarb software. If you do Rhubarb lipsync, I'm sure you'll find it. Just out of interest to see what Florence would look like if she was fully animated using all these different mouth shapes, I dropped a still picture of her into some amazing software called Crazy Talk, and this allows you to create an amazing video file of any face or any object really that you've shown it where the eyes and mouth is. So this is what she would look like in a virtual world.
It's all well and good you getting on with Christmas cards and picture frames, but what about me, Florence? Being hidden under a cloth is not befitting to an advanced automaton such as I. It may keep dust from settling, but I find being hidden under a cloth rather demeaning. I need my gauges, and you, sir, must create them. It is imperative to my advancement. Therefore I urge you to desist with your other trivial work and provide me with the equipment I need to decide whether it is, or at this rate, ever will be, time for tea.
So that was another experiment out the window. I did some research into puppeteers who just have glove puppets. The first thing on the first page said, don't try and do it with sound or anything else. All you do is syllables. Every time you hear a syllable, you open the mouth and you close it again, and it works. Thought that is brilliant, finally. So looking up how to detect syllables, huge number of very clever theses and whatever written on speech analysis and speech therapy, all referring to Pratt. And it turns out that Pratt is a piece of software that was designed to analyse speech. It opens with 2 windows. This draws incredibly complicated things to analyse text, which I don't begin to understand. But if you download Pratt, you can experiment with that. This is the window we need. What we do is we go to open a Pratt script. And I fiddled around with the one that someone had written to analyse syllables. Again, like I said before, a script, it just saves you pressing loads and loads of the same buttons over and over again for each audio file. So we'll open that one and we'll go run. We'll tell it that we're happy with these settings, that I have no idea what they mean. We'll go OK. Right, that's it. Now what it's done is it's looked in the folder where I put that single speeded up file without any effects. Now if I go to text grid, and I haven't been able to work out how to use the Pratt script properly, so what I need to do is list and then go OK and then go file, save as. So here's the information that's produced. It said for this little clip, and these are in seconds, here are the syllables. Now again, I haven't been able to work out how to turn them into milliseconds, which I need, and how to get rid of the other stereo channel. I I fiddled around and just thought in the end, I'm pretty tenacious with things like this, but I just thought I need to get this done, so I gave up. So what I then did was thought, well, how can I change this? Let's just use Excel. Data, isn't it? Data from text. I think we put it as that. Let's import that. Just go through this process over and over again. Okay. So it just pastes in that original text file from the Pratt software, and then it turns each of the seconds into milliseconds, and then it creates an array just by adding. If it's different, it just keeps adding one to it. And then all we need to do is to copy that. I think we need an extra naught at the end. That's okay. Control C, new text file, make sure there's a naught at the end because the software needs to know when it's finished, and that's it. So, kind viewers, if you're still with me on this, if you want to animate an automaton's mouth, or anything actually, and you have got hours and hours and hours to spend, although there's not really any other way that I've found yet. Obviously this could be tweaked with better scripts that would do more for you, but this is pretty good as it goes, and you end up having created an array file which the Arduino can read. Just counts through. Once the audio file starts playing, it counts through. Once it reaches 92 or is greater than 92, it opens the mouth for 100 milliseconds, then close it because I found that worked well. Opens again, close, open, close, open, close, closes it at the end, and it works really well.
I thank you.
You just know when something works, and having tried so many different other things, just not being happy, I saw this and it just was perfect. If you've got any questions or you want any help with this, I've put so much effort into this. I really hope that it's of value to people, to save them wasting hours and hours and hours of time. Thank you very much for watching.